version, it says insert scan painted colour wheel. So that's where you just drag it in there. If you've scanned it in as a PDF or a JPEG, it should just drag and pop in there, and the box will just get bigger to fit it. So that's the one you're putting in that you did. And then we're going to do a digital one. So this exercise we'll do next week. It's quite it'll take up the whole class time really. So we're on to this one now, the shades and tints. So you need to go to the Moodle and download the tints and shades one, just that one. So it's the third one down, creating tints and shades, and open that in Illustrator. So it looks like this, and you're just going to check in your file menu that the document colour mode is CMYK. So just getting a little bit conscious, when you make a new document in Illustrator and you say print, you designate it's going to be a print project from the start, then it's going to automatically be in CMYK. But do remember that we said that RGB colours, there are more of them. So sometimes if you know that the first destination of something is screen, you would work in RGB. But this one, we're going to be working in CMYK. So if you have a look at the brief, just flick back to that. This little sample is just to give you an idea of where to put the colours. So we want you pretty much to follow the pattern and start with the yellow at the top. And we're going to use a particular tool in Illustrator to get the tints and the shades. So once you've got your Illustrator file open, you're going to go up to Window and look for Colour Guide. So it's a Window Colour Guide, and you'll get this little thing coming up. So you want to start off with a yellow. So a pure yellow. Don't start off with the tints yet. So in your colour, choose yourself a yellow that matches, you've just painted a colour wheel, so try and visually match the yellow there. And notice when we're on the colour, see how it's giving me the RGB values there? What you can do is go to the little tiny menu tab there at the side. See that top hamburger at the side of the colour tab? And just switch to CMYK. And then you can see that screen colour converted into CMYK. But we don't really know how it's going to print unless we look at a swatch book. So I'll bring those swatch books around so you start to get a little bit familiar with them. So you can actually look at a printed colour, and this will help you for next week. So when you're choosing your colours, you can start by looking at the swatch book and picking one of the yellows and just plugging in the CMYK formula. So I'm going to pass this around. Oh, did I bring the right? Yeah, I did. Put the right one in. That's not the right one. So we have a particular swatch book which you were introduced to in one of the videos, called Colour Bridge. And so if I want to know how my CMYK yellow is going to print, I actually need to pick it from here. So when we had our lesson, we watched the video on Pantone colours and Pantone selectors. We talked, the guy showed you a whole video about Pantone Bridge. So Bridge is great because it's got those special colours or spot colours on one side, and then it has CMYK formulas on the other side. And we talked about how sometimes those spot colours, you have to use them, particularly with things like orange, because you can't get them easily in CMYK. But today we're just going to work with CMYK and get you a little bit used to using these swatch books. So when I pass this around, you're going to look on the CMYK side, right? Not on the spot colour side. That's not going to help you. The formulas, come on, the formulas that you're going to plug in here to get the exact yellow, because I've picked a yellow there, didn't I? I eyedropped a yellow out of there, but I have no idea how that's actually going to print, because all I'm seeing is the screen version of it, right? Does that make sense to everybody? So even though it's a CMYK colour, I'm still looking at it on a screen. So I don't know how it's going to print. The only way to know how it's going to print is to look at a printed version of the colour I want and then go back in here and plug in the formula. So I don't mind which yellow you pick. Stick with the yellows, don't veer into orange. So I'm going to pass this around and you'll pick an orange. You're not trying to do a tint yet, you're just getting the solid colour. So pick one of these yellows. There's a couple of, some are more lemony. You pick the one that you want to work with. Don't go too light because we're going to make a tint of it anyway. So pick a strong mid-yellow. So maybe down the, maybe 1, 2, 3, 4 down from the top, and you'll see they're stronger colours. And then plug in the formula. So I've picked one, and I'm going to demonstrate plugging in the formula for it. So I've picked one that has a formula. It has no, it should have no cyan. So can you see that yellow I've got on screen has actually got quite a bit of cyan. So even though it looks pretty yellow on screen, when it prints, it's probably going to be quite greenish because it's got a lot of cyan in it. So instead of that, I want to follow the formula on this, yeah, on the colour bridge. Then it's got 5 magenta, which would warm it up a little bit, and 100% yellow, which you would expect, 100% yellow, and 0 for black. And that's given me a yellow that I like. And now I can click on that little hamburger and actually create a new swatch that'll sit in my swatches, and you can keep the formula, but you might also give it a name, you know, so yellow, let's say yellow 1, and say okay. So now it's filled it with that yellow. Now to get the tint of it, go across the colour guide, and you can see that you can use colour guide, this is just for CMYK colours, to easily pick a tint of that colour. When it's printed, it's still using the same ink. It's just spread in a different way to make that particular tint. So once you've decided on the tints, you'll sort of try to stick with them. But the main thing is you have to make sure the base colour, the colour you're choosing, is there. It does give you some other colours to mix with it, so it's suggesting some colour harmonies already. Ignore those. We're just concentrating on the shades and tints on that top line. So instead of the full strength colour, which is this one, yeah, so that's that, I want to go for either that or the next one along, or even that, and then be consistent. If you choose the very lightest one, then you would choose that for all of your tints. So I might choose that one, and then I can go across to my shades and do the same thing. So it's the same, go for the base colour, you know the base colour is that one, and then pick the shade that you want to work with. You could go as dark as that, even that, but that's a bit too, we want to still see that it's a yellow, so I would probably go for those. So that's pretty good, I'm pretty happy with that. Go back to your Word document to see what colour's next. And what you're looking at is, these are steps between a yellow and an orange. So you have a yellowy, more yellow in this one and more red in that one. So if you get confused, just check in with me, but the easiest way to get the steps right is to jump and do the 4 kind of ones that are opposite each other. So that means getting your orange sorted out, and then your blue-green, and then your violet on the opposite end. So basically come back to this if you're confused, and you have your own colour wheel that looks a bit something like this, which can help you look at those steps. So if I zoom up on that, that's a guide you can follow as well. It's doing the same thing. It's got your pure yellow, and you can see there's a tint and there's a shade. So that was the exercise you did physically, and basically you're just replicating what you did, but you're just doing the tints and the shade. So in terms of picking the colour, this should be a nice strong orange, and then you should have some steps back to yellow. So you can use that as a bit of a guide to help you. So you start off with the full strength colour. So let's now go and pick ourselves what we think is a nice orange. So go back to Illustrator, have a look at it. So you can get your colour here. You can go, okay, I'm over here now. So I'm wanting a strong orange. So that's probably not orange, that's more pinky. And I'm getting a bit lost. I don't really know whether I've got a good orange, and I have no idea how it's going to print. So go back to this book, go back again, and find a good mid-orange that you're happy with. Remembering, of course, that on this side, the CMYK, they will look a little duller than the bright spot colours. So I'll do one more and then I'll start passing it around. So I want an orange that feels like it's a good halfway mix between yellow and red. So I'm going to go with this one that I've found, and it gives you the Pantone equivalent there. And for this one, as you would expect, that's pretty close to what I'm seeing on paper, that there's no cyan. And instead of 60, it's very close. So by eye, I've gotten pretty close. But to be exact, I'm putting 75 in. And then this one has 93 yellow. And then again, 0 for the black. So I know that when it's printed, it's going to look like that. It might not quite look exactly like that on screen, but who cares? That's a screen colour. It's got nothing to do with how it's going to print. So when you're happy with that, same thing again. Use that solid colour. You can put it across in the other one as well. And a safe way to keep track of them is to use the hamburger, create a new swatch, and just call it, it's the orange. It's that. And then you can go to your colour guide and go, okay, I want, I think I started using this one, so try to stay in the same tint variation for all of them so it looks unified. And for this one, I sort of chose the middle step there. So I've got a tint and a shade of that pure orange. But I've kept, if I want to go backwards, I can go Window Swatches, and you'll see that my two colours there, see they've got a white tag on them? Those are the two colours, and you see if I scroll over them, it's giving me the formula for that colour. And they've been added to my general swatches. So it's important as you work with colour and you want to keep the colour and go back to it, that you just make a new swatch in case you want to use it again. Otherwise you might start eyedropping RGB colours randomly. That's what we're trying to avoid. So the tendency when you first start designing is to go, oh, I like that colour, eyedropper it, it's RGB, and you have absolutely no idea how it's going to print. So if you want to be sure how it's going to actually print, then you've got to use this. So yes, all right, eyedropper a colour, but then go in here and try and find the CMYK equivalent, or if it really has to be a very bright colour, you might be looking for a spot or Pantone spot colour, those pure colours. So it's just a little exercise to get you a little bit used to using this book and creating those tints and shades. So we know that we would want this one to be slightly more reddish, this one more yellow. If you want, you could do the entire thing in the solid colours, the full strength colour, get it right, and then just go in and do the tints all in one go. Yeah, so if you want to do it that way, that's fine. All right, so I'm going to pass the book around and see how you go with how you'll have to share it. I do have another set I can bring in as well. You can see that's the orange I chose, and that's the set I came. I was pretty close by eye actually, so you can do it by eye. That's fine. But then actually go and have a look in the CMYK sliders. So if you're not sure where these things are, ask me again, and I'll stop the video and I'll put that on the So I'll just stop recording this, and this